Hello and welcome to another episode of Accounting Insiders. I'm Gary Dehart, publisher of Insightful Accountant, and I am broadcasting or recording here today at Xerocon 2022 in the steamy New Orleans, Louisiana. I hadn't had quite as much rain as we thought, but still steamy. So I've got Tate Henshaw, what's your title?
Well, it depends on
President?
what day.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Co-founder and COO.
All right, of ARC Management, and I find that we were kind of chuckling before. So you're not a CPA,
No, I'm not.
you're not a bookkeeper,
No.
or not by training. You might be,
Right.
you might do a lot of
Yeah,
it, but
yeah,
you're a CFP,
that's right.
so which is Certified Financial
Planner.
Planner. All right. Yet you're here at Xerocon,
That's right.
and I've seen you at some other events, but um, welcome. I guess I'm supposed to
Thank
say
you.
that first. So thanks for taking a little bit of time. But so just can dive in. So how is a CFP at an accounting conference? This makes no sense to me.
For sure. So it's probably a little bit of an all-encompassing answer. I know we're going to get into the niche and all this kind of stuff later, but to start off from a high level, I was always a numbers person growing up, and so when I went to college at the University of Georgia, I was majoring.
Go Dogs.
Go Dogs, yeah.
Was it nine?
National
nine,
champions.
Yep, 9 days or something like that,
Yeah.
right? Happiest time of the year.
Yeah, and so I was there and majoring in math and started in computer science. I thought I was going to be the next big video game developer,
Right.
and I realized that meant more like sitting in a cubicle for 12 or 14 hours a day coding than it did what I thought it meant.
Red Bulls and pizza. Right?
Yeah. And so I transferred from computer science over to the business school because my other roommates were in the business school and their work seemed a lot easier than mine did. And so I switched computer science to finance. I stayed with the math major. And as I was going through that, a couple things happened. I did really well in my accounting courses, being kind of the numbers person. And my fraternity elected me as the treasurer because I'd made the best grades in the accounting class and had been helping the other guys with their
That's really
tutoring, more or less. And so I thought, oh, okay, there's something here with this. And then the other big thing that happened was the university started a music business program while I was there. And one of my other roommates, we were in a band together in Athens, and he said, you need to get into this program. I was like, well, why? What's it all about? And he said, well, basically rock stars come through and they talk about their lives and you get college credit for it. And that's about all I needed to know.
Sold.
I said, that sounds a lot more fun than the other electives I'm taking. And so I got into that program and did some really fun stuff. Interned with Drive-By Truckers, worked with Team Claremont, which is a college radio promotions PR agency. And then when I graduated, obviously everyone who graduates, you're kind of at a crossroads. And my math degree was a great degree, taught you a lot about problem solving, really relevant to my current role, but didn't really have a career track unless you wanted to get a doctorate and teach math, which I'm pretty nerdy, but maybe not quite on that level. And so my finance degree had more of a career track, but that meant more of interviewing at brokerage houses and all this kind of stuff. And I was interviewing and they were talking about cold calling and networking and owning a firm. Now I understand those are really relevant skills to have. But at the time I was thinking I'm the numbers guy. I crunch the numbers, I do the spreadsheets, I figure out how to solve problems. And so I was really struggling, but needed a job, obviously, regardless. And the person running the music business program, Keith Parisi, who's actually at Kennesaw State now, doing a program there, he said, there's a guy in town in Atlanta that runs a business management firm. He's looking for an intern. Are you interested? And I thought, well, I don't really know what that means. I think we'd had one business manager come through, and the main thing I remembered from his talk was bailing people out of jail. And so I was like, well, I don't know if this is the best fit, but what I
But it beats
knew
Red
was,
Bulls and pizza, right? I
yeah,
mean,
and
so,
it wasn't the cold calling job.
right,
It
yeah,
wasn't the Red Bulls and pizza. So I thought, yeah, let's give it a shot. And that was January of 2008 when I
okay,
started there, and spent 12 years there before I started ARC in June of 2020.
okay,
And that firm was a business management firm. So, for the audience, is a bookkeeping firm, it is a tax firm, but it's also more than that. We're doing accounts payable, accounts receivable, tracking royalties, looking over different contracts. So very, very involved with your clients, and normally working with musicians, touring bands, those kind of things, and we're pretty much the full financial backbone of that business. They don't have a CFO, a controller, a bookkeeper, an accounts payable person, none of that. We're filling all those roles on a fractional basis. So it's kind of a fractional CFO, controller, bookkeeper, accounts payable, consulting, all rolled into one with the industry specialty on
right.
top of it.
And that which that industry, and not this is a blanket statement,
Yeah,
but imagine out of, and there's multiple industries out there, but I imagine that's one, right, that in particular where the artists definitely don't want to deal with any of that stuff that you're dealing with for them, right? I mean,
pretty
and
much.
for them to be at their best, they don't need to be, right?
Correct. It's funny, I was talking to someone yesterday about songwriting and just being creative generally, and it's really a different mindset from being tactical and dealing with numbers and
Right,
organization. And so the more that we're able to give them time back and give them the kind of the peace of mind
mm-hmm,
for them to be creative, then the more successful they can be. And now we work with a lot of athletes too, so it's kind of the same concept of allowing them to focus on what they do really well and what they can uniquely do that 99.9% of the population
right,
cannot.
right,
And then us coming in and creating that structure and that foundation financially for them to have a platform to, hopefully monetize that and exponentially monetize it.
right. And are they straying a little bit, but national?
Mm-hmm.
And they're going across the country.
Yeah, yeah. So, when you talk about sports specifically, they could grow up in Atlanta next door to me,
Right,
but then they get drafted, they go wherever,
right,
Chicago, Toronto, Miami, Cleveland, wherever the draft pick falls.
right, right.
And then the musicians, we've got a little more of a concentration currently, but we have people in Nashville. I've got a group up in Vermont that we work with, so it's really not location dependent.
Mm-hmm. And so do you end up networking with a lot of like other like sports agents?
Yeah,
And
so most of it, when we talk about marketing, it is referral based, but not necessarily client to client as much as adjacent professional is kind of the term I use. So with an athlete, that could be an agent, it could be a AAU coach, a college coach, really whoever that specific athlete's going to ask,
mm-hmm,
who do I need when I need help with my money? Who should I work with?
right,
And it's usually going to be one of those people predominantly. On the music side, you're talking about entertainment attorneys, booking agents, managers, those kind of people.
okay,
Talked to a manager this morning. I dropped by an entertainment attorney's office this morning walking in, which unfortunately put me in a lot of that rain
oh
you were
yeah,
talking
that was a product dropped out
about.
just when you're outside, like no, and then it stops.
Yeah, it was manageable until I was about 2 blocks away, and then it just
Yeah,
the bottom fell out. But I'm dry now, so.
right, that's funny. And so all right, so I'm going to switch topic just a little bit. um, so you've got that right. Here's the business I'm running
Yeah.
and doing well with. but you're also a Xero ambassador,
That's right.
and you're a firm owner, and then some involvement with accounting salon. You had a shirt on yesterday with that.
Yep.
Um, so what is I think most of our audience understands kind of what a firm owner does, although you're pretty unique because you've got a little
Yeah.
different clientele
True.
base than most, I think.
Hmm.
But um, Xero ambassador, what is that?
So yeah, it's funny the way you like to tell the story because it's kind of a recurring theme. I was lucky. We started using Xero at my prior firm in 2015 and really liked it. Really started converting a lot of our current clients over to it. And through that, they sent this survey out and it said, "Would you like to be on XPAC?" And I was like, you'll remember this phrase, I used it just a second ago. I said, "I don't really know what this means,
Yeah.
but it looks like a 2-minute survey. I need a break anyway in the day. I'll fill it out." And so then, sure enough, maybe it was a week, 2 weeks later, it said, "Congratulations, you're in XPAC." And I
You're
thought,
like,
oh,
uh-oh,
maybe I need to figure out what this
what is
means
this?
now. And for those not familiar with XPAC, Xero Partner Advisory Council, they fly out. I think it's about 12 firm owners, partners, as Xero calls them. And basically, we go out and we have a great time, but we also really help them to understand where's the product lacking, what can be improved, what are we looking for, so that it's not just, developers or whoever deciding this is what we want to do, really truly getting that partner feedback. And that was really what impressed me about Xero was I thought, well, is this maybe just a rah-rah session to make us look
Right.
good?
Yeah.
But then when we are sitting at a table, the 12 of us, and then around the side of the room was filled, and those people introduced themselves, and you're talking the head of marketing for the US, the head of product for the US, the head of sales for the US, and they're taking notes off everything that we're saying. And I thought, this is really impressive. They really are taking this very seriously of what their partners are feeling and how they can help us.
Right.
And so anyway, to get back to the ambassador thing, the XPAC is a twice a year meeting. And so the second meeting was in Denver, and there was an initiative that they had started to do local ambassadors. And they reached out to me and they said, "Is this something you'd be interested in doing?" And I said, "I
Sure.
don't really know what that means, but, let's do a call. We can talk
Right.
about it." And so basically, it was working with the community at that point and doing some thought leadership, doing some local events, and just really relating a peer perspective to new partners, current partners, whatever it may be. Also helping the salespeople to know, okay, this partner's saying this. What does that mean? Okay, well, from a partner's perspective, what they're getting at is X, Y, Z, whatever it may be. And so I did the local thing for I think about 6 months, and then right around Xerocon Atlanta, I changed over to a national ambassador. So there's 4 of us in the U.S., 1 in Canada, me, Jay Kimmelman, Liz Mason, Amanda Aguilar, and then Allison Hawkins in Canada. And we work with different teams, but it's still basically the same concept of just being able to, a new partner's got questions that are about, maybe it's not even specifically Xero, but running a cloud practice,
Right.
right? Which is not necessarily something that the Xero, account managers are going to be familiar with,
Right.
but where we can come in and help and relate, everything from, managing remote workers, things like that, pricing, all those kind of things, other apps that they can integrate with. And so I've been doing that now for about 5 years.
Okay. Real. Okay.
Yeah. Which in tech land is pretty long
Yeah.
time.
And you're like, this was a short stint.
Yeah.
Yeah. Perhaps
Uh-huh.
not. Right. And is that something that they say, all right, you can do this 5 years and then we're going to start rolling people off, or is it kind of up to you to go,
It's,
I'm done?
yeah. Well, I'm sure they could tell me I'm done at
Right.
any
Well, yeah.
point.
Yeah.
but it's just kind of been an ongoing developing thing, and it's continued to evolve over time, and the things that we're doing have changed and then changed back, and um, but it's been a good ride.
Right.
But there's no set time period,
Okay.
so to
Yeah.
speak.
And
Yeah.
now the new, I talked to him yesterday. I forgot the guy, new Cookie, who's in
Oh
Atlanta.
yeah, Cookie.
Yeah.
Yeah, me and Cookie have had
And he's product,
breakfast.
right? He's product guy, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, he's leading the charge in the U.S. for the product, and I've had multiple conversations with Cookies. Got a great just mind for the art of project management or product
yeah.
management. And so I'm really excited to see all the things. Obviously, we've heard some of those at the conference
Right.
about sales tax inventory, the things they're working on there. But really excited to see the continued development
Right.
for the U.S. product.
And are you a 100% zero firm?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so let's talk about accounting salon.
Mm-hmm.
What is it, and what's your involvement with that?
So Accounting Salon is kind of a brainchild of Amanda Aguilar, who we both know, and
She's from here, right?
she is
Yeah,
from
yeah.
here,
She's New Orleans guy.
totally.
Yeah. I didn't
And
even. I just made that connection. I knew that,
oh
but
yeah,
forgot.
we're everybody on Slack. Where do we need to go? Where should we eat at? All those kind of things. Um, but her thing was, we go to these conferences, and a lot of the people who maybe are the speakers or the thought leaders, if you will, which I think is kind of a hairy term to even get into,
Right.
but um, we had such value that we get from the happy hour or hanging out at the hotel bar and having those conversations. And so she wanted to create a group or a platform to have more of that. And so what Accounting Salon is it's invite only. You can apply, but it's a invite only kind of mastermind group, and we have get-togethers and happy hours and webinars. But it's a lot of like-minded firm owners, and then some app partners,
Mhm.
different people that we just get together and figure out what's next, and kind of sharpen each other,
Right.
if you will, because it's really can be inspiring when you're sitting there with a Clint Bowers or Liz Mason or Brittany Brown, and you hear what they're doing,
Right.
and then for me, I'm thinking, man, I gotta up my game.
Mm-hmm.
So that's basically the impetus there, and it really all came from getting into that Xero ecosystem,
Right.
meeting Amanda and Jay and Liz and all those people, has really led to a lot of these cool opportunities
Yeah.
that I've been
Oh,
able
that's
to take
fantastic.
advantage of.
Yeah, that's great. Well, and so how do you do that? I mean, because there's only, I mean, I don't know if you've figured out how to get more than 24 hours out of a day, but
Well, I got the
you
time turner like Hermione
know,
and Harry Potter. That's what I use.
yeah,
But
yeah,
no, people ask me, how do you split your time with even mainly the Xero and the ARC stuff? Because Accounting Salon is really a couple of events per
right.
year, maybe, or you kind of split it up. Other than the memes on Slack, we keep up with those. We're pretty prominent with those. But and they're like, is it 80-20? Is it 60-40? And my thing is, it's 100-100. Really, I mean, yes, there's a lot of intentional planning that
Mhm.
goes into it of, okay, my Mondays are heavier with Xero stuff, so I'm going to dedicate there, get all those kind of things wrapped up. But then I'm back in ARC world and
Right.
really focusing on that. But best laid plans can still fall apart different
Right.
times when there's hot button issues or things that come up that you just have to be flexible and willing to adapt. A lot of it's having great people to help you. So Molly Garcia, she just got married almost. She used her old last name, but she kind of coordinates a lot of the ambassador stuff so that
Right.
we're not having to figure out logistics and what presentation are we doing. She's helping us just be able to come in and execute. And then I've got great people on our team at ARC as well to help with that and know, okay, these are the things that need to be executed. If we've got meetings, let me know what needs to be addressed, make sure that these to-dos were taken care of, et cetera.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that's really hard is, especially for a small firm owner, or we're a small business ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
is not letting go of things, but making that investment in that person who you let things go to,
Correct.
right? Because it's so critical, right? I mean, you can't do all these things if you're doing it yourself, right?
Correct. And
Yeah,
I'm very upfront with my team at ARC about if we're waiting on me to solve all the problems, we're in big trouble.
right,
Because number one, I don't know everything. Number two, I don't have time to solve everything.
right.
So, we're really intentional, and that's one of the reasons that Lauren, my partner, and myself started ARC was to we had a vision of how we wanted to operate, and a big part of that is finding the right people and trusting them to
Yeah.
do the work. I'd be lying if I said there wasn't some times where it's I'm
Sure.
not sure I want to give
Right.
that up.
Yeah.
But when I look at people, I've mentioned them a lot of times, but people like a Liz or Kenji at Acuity, and you see what they built, and when you see the people on their team and the things that they're doing, then you kind of realize, oh, okay, they're able to do it, and look where they've gone
Mm-hmm.
by doing that. And so if we're able to do it, we think the sky's the limit for us. So
Absolutely. All right. So the niche we touched on a little bit, but how'd you end up in the kind of the entertainment? It really is. Entertainment was first, and then
yeah,
now you've kind of broadened out a little bit
mm-hmm.
into uh,
Sports.
sports. Thank you.
Yeah. So
Which I guess is still somewhat entertainment,
yeah,
right?
yeah, it's kind of but two sides of the same coin. But when I started at that firm I started at was doing predominantly only entertainment. So I really just fell into the music side of things, and then my current partner joined that firm in around 2015. He was the one who actually brought up the idea of Xero and those things, which is interesting because he's not a technical
Oh, that's
person
funny.
at all.
Yeah.
But he had seen it and thought he's very much a brand person and a feel person of this is what we want to portray our brand as is current and up to date and mobile capable and all the things that all the cloud apps kind of can accomplish for you. And his background is as an MBA agent before he moved over to doing business management for predominantly the same clientele. So we worked together at that firm for about 5 years before we started ARC. And so that's where the sports component came from.
Okay.
Mhm.
And growing,
yes,
yeah,
rapidly.
That's fun. Fun, but can probably
Yeah,
not scary. I think if you're in that mindset, right, it's not scary. It's more you sit back and go, growth is phenomenal. It's fantastic. How do we manage it, right? Because
absolutely.
you got your basic clients, you can't let them down,
Correct.
but you also want to grow. So
It's a constant. I think if you're not growing, you're dying. But then
you ain't
you
first, you're
can't let
last.
people
You ain't first, you're last.
you can't let people out the back door as soon as they come in the front door either.
Right. Yeah.
Or you're just constantly churning things. So we've had really good luck as far as keeping clients on board with us, and then the growth is really starting to pick up now, which is fun to see. I mean, it's a testament to the work that Lauren and myself have done, obviously, but also the team.
Sure.
All the work that they've been putting in.
Yeah. Yeah. People don't stay with you if you're not doing a good job, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk real quick just before we wrap it up about your tech stack.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously Xero.
Yep.
Here's the core GL. What else is in that kind of here's our must-haves,
Yeah.
and then
Like to have.
like to have. Yeah, we'll go with that. I was going to say things that I don't care if I have or not, but we don't want to do
Yeah.
that. So we'll say here's our must-haves, and for you and really any firm. And if
Yeah.
it's not necessarily product, if it's not, hey, you got to have this app. You have to have an app that serves this purpose, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It can be either way, your choice.
So Xero is kind of the hub, and then Bill.com is the other huge component for us. As I mentioned, we're paying a lot of bills all the time.
Yeah.
A lot of the invoicing we do is through Xero using the Stripe add-on as well to enable credit card payments. We use LastPass for password management, a lot of the secure credentials for people that are needed for different things that we do. Use the Microsoft Suite, 365, SharePoint, OneDrive for document management. Use HubDoc, longtime HubDoc user. And then this is where there's a lot of other things that are in play that I forget about. HelloSign we use for e-signatures. Teamwork is what we use for project management.
Okay.
Those are kind of the primary things, and then you'll have little ancillary shoot-offs here and there. We've been looking at some of the reporting apps to maybe up our game there, possibly. So to be determined on that.
Right.
Follow up next time, maybe.
So yeah. So how do you go through kind of the vetting process, right? So you're thinking about maybe adding X app. How do you vet that?
Well, it really depends on, for me, I like to start at flexibility because our engagements are relative to the industry at large going to be much higher touch, much more customizable. Obviously, the fees reflect that as well. So it's a little different business model, but we're not really the ones saying, this is McDonald's. If you order a Big Mac, you get all the stuff on it. We don't take it off. We're the guys, the 5-star steakhouse of if you want it rare, medium rare, this, that, other, this kind of sauce, whatever, that's what we're going to do. We try to streamline it as much as possible for scaling efficiencies, but there's a lot that we do as far as, for this specific client, you're kind of doing this. For this one, you're doing similar, but maybe a little bit different. So flexibility is where I like to start, both from a, with Bill.com, all the different ways you can make payments, all the different ways you can set up approvals, and also the ability, obviously, to sync with all the other applications that you're using is a huge one for us as well. So that's where it starts, and then you bring in the team members, and well, a huge part of it for me is asking those other people that I know in community through Accounting Salon, through Xero, does anybody have experience with this? Or knowing the people that are involved, like Brad Gustafson at Ramp. That's a guy I would trust, like a brother. So when he's over there telling me this is what we're doing at Ramp, this is how it's going to work, I believe him.
Right.
And so there's people at a lot of the firms we work with, obviously, a Will Lopez at Gusto, or there's, Joel over at Rippling, a lot of those kind of people where I know them, I know their integrity, and I know I can trust them if something's going on for them to be there for me.
Right.
There's people at Bill.com, at Xero that are that way too. So I guess that's not a very clear answer. It's not a very, flow charty kind of answer, but it's the people involved along with the flexibility of the application really is what leads the discussion for us.
But I think one big point that comes out of that, and you mentioned as you were talking, I thought about Accounting Salon, and then you mentioned it, but is the networking side, right? And you've got somewhere to run to, right? Okay. Is the networking side, right? And that's why you come to events. That's why you get in these involved in these different things. So, so I think networking is key. I mean, a lot of people have already done that, right? No reason to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
If they can get it halfway done for you, then you've only got half as much work to do.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I know you need to run, so we're going to stop it there. Appreciate the time. Thank you for being flexible. Since we missed yesterday, thanks for being able to come back in here today.
Absolutely.
So, great.
Thank you, Gary.
We do appreciate it.